All right, we are back for an update. I'm sorry it's been a while. Been a bit busy. Had to paint a bit around the house, make the wife happy. You know what they say: happy wife, happy life, right? If not, your life will be full of strife. And so, now that I got the kitchen painted, and the wife is pleased with my progress on that, so now I get back to doing what I'm doing. So today we are going, as promised, I promised you guys that we were going to do a conversion of an HO scale structure into an S scale structure. HO scale is real common. It's the most common train scale. There are just literally thousands of building kits available in HO scale, and not all of them can be turned into an S-scale building. It takes a little bit of thought. Generally, the simpler the building, the better. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this HO scale donut shop. It's made by Walthers. Real common company for one of the biggest companies for railroad, if not the biggest company for railroad model railroad supplies and buildings. And this is a shop that I've converted before. I had another one just like it that I had turned into my donut shop that's on my layout. And so let's get at it. We're going to start talking about it. We got the kit here. You can see where it comes from. There's HO scale. So what we're going to do to this is we're going to lift it up. Because right now, when you measure the walls, here, I got my little handy dandy S-scale ruler here. The walls barely top 7 feet, which is way too short. You know, it's going to look goofy. It's not going to look right with your cars in front of it or your 1/64 scale figures. It's going to look too small. Some people are just fine with that. I've seen complete dioramas that were done with HO scale buildings, and they use the S scale or 1/64 scale cars. And to me, you know, I mean, it looks okay, but to me it looks off. And I got to have proper scale stuff. It's just, you know, just me. But I like to keep things prototypical. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to add height to the walls. Okay? So we're going to build the kit, and we're going to basically put a spacer underneath it. And then we're going to cover that with a brick fascia to blend it all in, make, you know, the seam go away. And we'll add a 1/64 scale door to make it look right. Basically what I'm going to do with this is going to go on my layout, my diorama, as a ticket booth for my drive-in theater. I thought it was a good way to use this kit. I bought the kit just for the donut because I already had the Walthers donut shop that I built, and I wanted a sign for the front, a nice big donut sign also. So I bought the second kit just for the donut, which left me the kit, and I wasn't really sure what to do with it, but now I am. So we're going to turn this thing into a proper S-scale building. So let's get that out of the way here. Okay, and how we're going to do that is we're going to add height, and we're going to add height with some styrene. And I just have a few pieces of scrap here. Okay, this is made by Evergreen, in case you're curious of what the brand name is. That's what it looks like when it's in the package. This is Sidewalk, and this is actually a little bit bigger. This is actually 3/16 square Sidewalk, which 3/16 of an inch is 1 foot in 1/64 scale. So you can use this and measure out your buildings in per feet, how much you know, your height and your width and stuff like that. Then you can just break it off. It's all scored. It's hard to see here in the, here, let me see if I can show you the the texture a little closer here. There we go. You know, it's nicely scored, which makes it really easy to use. You can just basically mark and, you know, break it off. It snaps like stained glass does. Once you got the score in, you can easily bend it. Let's see here. I'm gonna cut this or bend this and cut this to shape. I want to add 2 feet onto the walls, which in this case is 3 squares. So make sure that everything is even here, and then we're just gonna bend it. Oops, not there. We're gonna bend it a little bit. Just take it really easy on it, you know, and make sure you support both sides with your fingers. And we're just gonna kind of bend it a little bit. Okay, so now we're to the point where we could break it. Okay, so we're just gonna bend it forward a little bit or backwards a little bit, bend it forward, and boop, it's done. See, now we got the piece exact height we need it. I find the evergreen styrene to be an excellent product. Works really good, especially when you use the 3/16 sidewalk squares. You can, like I said, you can measure them off 1 foot. Makes it real easy to figure out how tall your structure should be. You don't have to really measure that hard, and, you know, cutting and stuff. Makes it a lot easier, a lot quicker. It's just one of my shortcuts that I use. These aren't real super cheap. They're about, right now they're $7. I think last time they were almost $8 when I went in, because like everything else right now, the price is going up. But you can get a lot out of one big sheet like this. Okay. All right. And so then for the brick facing, we're going to use a brick sheet. You can see the texture there. Okay. So we're going to use the brick sheet, and this brick sheet is made by JTT Scenery Products. And we'll just show you the label there. Got that at Hobby Lobby. You can get that at Hobby Lobby or through your local train store. I strongly recommend, if you have a train store or hobby shop in your, you know, town, that you support them, especially if they're locally owned. Because you know, they're the good guys to go see when you need stuff. They can order stuff for you, and actually, you know, if you order it at the train store, they don't usually charge. At least the train store that I go to, for special orders, he doesn't charge me the shipping, so it's actually cheaper because you're not paying shipping. Even though you might pay a little bit more on the price, but once you get to know these guys and you become a customer and you start spending money in their shops, a lot of times, you know, after a while, they'll give you a little bit of a customer discount. My train shop gives me 20% off. I've been going to him for a number of years and buy a lot of stuff, and he likes what he does, what I do, so he's giving me a pretty good discount. But you can get this at your local hobby shop. You can get it at Hobby Lobby too. A little bit goes a long ways. It has 2 sheets in it. This is just a scrap piece that I'm using. And so now we got things laid out here. Here's the walls. It's a pretty simple kit. I mean, there's really not much to this kit at all. I don't know if you can see the instructions here, but like I said, it's pretty simple. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to raise the walls, and then we'll make a little bit bigger back door, put a finished back door in it, make it look right. And so we'll continue on with this here in a second. All right, I got everything out of the box and cleaned up the parts, separated them out so that we can start working on it. I'm just kind of jumping ahead, you know, doing the monotonous stuff now off screen so that I don't clog up the time. But one thing, when you do take your parts off the trees, you know, well, one, always cut them off. you know, snip them off, or use a blade, never break them off, because you can put, you know, like stretch marks into your plastic and that. Another thing I do is I save the sprues, because that's nice tubing. You know, you could use that when you scratch build. You can use it for piping. You can use it for, you know, a lot of different things. So it's really handy stuff to save, especially with the price of styrene parts. And you end up saving any little bit you can save is good. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to add a different door to the back too. And this is the 1/64 scale door. Now take a look at it compared to the wall. It's about the same height. There's the 1/87th, the HO scale door right there. So that you can see there's a lot of difference in size. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this door, it'll end up, you know, about like that. So it'll end up looking about right. And the door comes from Grant Line. They make a lot of S scale, 1/64 scale windows and doors and stuff. So in case you're interested in getting some of that for yourself. So we're going to go on and glue this up, and then we'll be back. Okay. All right, we got the sides of the building glued. Yeah, all the corners glued. This is the what's going to be the new base for the building. This is going to be what lifts it up. It is 2 feet high in 1/64 scale, so that'll give us enough room to make it a proper S scale building. And you know, the footprint might be a little small, but it's going to be a ticket booth, so they're not that big anyways. I find that once you get the height and the doors correct, the size of the building changes a lot. If you look at commercial structures, they're all different sizes. Even buildings that are similarly designed, like say a Kentucky Fried Chicken, they made the basic design, but there was different sizes. So that's another kit we're going to be working on in the future, is the HO Scale KFC Restaurant Kit. We're going to turn that into S scale. But when you're looking at kits to modify, what you're really looking for, you know, is something that you can add height to without really distorting it. You know, and make sure that the windows are still level. You might end up adding a little bit of room down here and a little room up here to make it right. I've seen on 2-story buildings or bigger buildings where they actually add a little bit of room down here, some more room up here between the floors, and stretch the windows out, and that gets it up to about a proper height. Okay. Now, I glue with super glue. This is what I use. I use this Loctite stuff. Gives you good control. You can you know, put a little bead on it, and I take my toothpick and move it where I need it to go. Thing about this stuff though is it seems to run out quick, and I found the reason why is it doesn't fully unload. You still have quite a bit of glue left in the tube. After I took the case apart, I discovered that one time, so now I take them all apart. I must have gone through about a dozen of them things before I discovered that. So it seems like with those you end up throwing away half your glue. And then so we got the base here. We're going to mate these together. Just going to set this on here for now. It's not quite, I'll have to fiddle around with it to get it to go as square as it'll go. Hopefully I didn't I wasn't off in my measurements. So now we had, I mentioned earlier that we were going to use the JTT plastic brick pattern, which here's what it looks like naturally. According to the guys in the S-Scale train groups, the JTT bricks and cinder blocks are real close to S-Scale. So it looks prototypical is what you want. And this is what I'm going to do. I have a piece that I already painted. It's just basically red primer. And then for the bricks, you just take some little different colors. You can, like here, you know, things that are brick colors. Here's some more over here. And then the for the mortar, I use, excuse me, I gotta go over here for a second. I should probably cut this out. Let's see if I can find it. Where is my, here it is. Excuse me. Talking is thirsty work. This is stuff I use for the mortar. Robert's brick mortar formula. You can get that through your local train shop, or you can order it through Walters. I think they carry it too. But that's what the bricks look like when they're done. I think that's a good look for it. What do you think? Put down in the comments. So anyways, what I'll do is I'll finish more of this. I'll do a little bit more mortar, I'll paint the little bricks first, and then do the mortar, because that helps sharpen up the edges. That way, if you're not quite steady with a brick and you got a little smear or something like that, the mortar kind of forgives it and it'll cover it up. Now, you can go this route. It's a little bit more time consuming, a little bit more work. Or if you want to go the quick way, there's a German company called Faller. And this stuff is basically embossed brick. It does have a bit of a shine to it. Here's the other one. And they have different stones and different bricks. But you can see it's already done for you, and it will give you the, you know, about the same look, kind of, as that. You know. What I would recommend, though, is if you do use this, to, when you're done, just hit it with a bit of Tester's dull coat or some kind of a dull paint, you know, spray, and that'll knock the shine off it. It won't look quite, you know, it'll look better. It'll look more realistic. Because the glare, you know, off of stuff, you know, plastics and stuff like that, that kind of shows, makes it look more toyish. And if you're going towards, you know, you want it to look as realistic as you can get it, you know, dull it up. You know, things get dirty in the real world. So I'll be working on that brick sheet. Here's a different brick if you want a more distressed look there. All in all, it's just bricks and wall. There we go. And that's what I have. There's the number if you're looking at ordering it. And this is actually for end scale. But they have, you know, grids on the back to help you cut, measure and cut, which is really nice. Good quality stuff. It's good to use if you don't want to paint. Save you a bit of time. So we'll go on here. This is going to be a real long video because we're going through the whole process. All right. Well, I got the base on. Let's see the seam there. Not my neatest job. I made a little mistake and made it just a little bit off in the back here, which I can cover that up. That's not a big deal, especially since that's going to be the back of the building on the diorama, so you're really not going to see much of it, but I'll make it right. Just take a look. Let's see here. So I just basically just added a little lift to it. Now I went a little bit too high. Let me show you here. Put it on this base. And let's put a person up here. Yeah, she's just a hair. She's, you know, it's just a little bit tall, you know, but that's not a problem. We can fix that. You know, we'll just do something like add a little bit of height. You know, I'll just, of course, it'll be a lot neater than that, but you know, you get to. I'll just add a little, you know, I'll add a piece of plastic on top of it and make it look like a little bit of a step, and that'll bring it right up to height. And I had the same problem with the car on the other side here, because this is supposed to be basically a drive-up window here. I just have this set on here, so I don't want to let go. But if you look at if it's about level, oops, here, let me get that better to the camera here. It's a bit low. So what I'll do is after I put the building in, I'll just lift the road bed up a little bit, make a little, you know, lift up here. You can just whoop, drive right up. It'll look fine. Not perfect. I mean, I could just tear it apart and do it all over again. You know, I could break this off. It's not going to hurt nothing. You know, I could break this off and just make another lower one. But, you know, I'm stubborn. I already have it done. I don't like to backtrack. So I'll correct it. It'll look right, you know. That's a nice thing is, you know, you can always fudge things a little bit. And it'll look right in the end. So, you know, we're just going to continue on. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to do a little reinforcing on the inside, though, and make sure it stays together, because these tying butts... I like to reinforce a little bit. Probably don't need to, but I'm going to anyways, because it just makes me feel better. It makes them a little more resilient if you drop them too. And also we're going to be cutting a back door into the back of this, and I want it to be nice and secure so that, you know, it's not going to break apart when I try to cut it. And I do have a special cutter for that, which we will show you in the next clip. Okay, where we were before, we had the base on, glued on. I did make a couple mistakes, and the one mistake I made was I made it just a little bit too tall, where the figures would have had a hard time. They were reaching up basically, and it didn't look right. And to me, it has to look right. It has to look in proportion, or else, you know, if it looks wrong to me, it's going to look real wrong to everybody else. So what I did was I reduced the height. I thought, well, I could just build up, you know, a little platform in front of the building for people to walk up to, and for the cars, I could put a little platform on the side so that the cars could access it easier. But then I thought, you know, if I do that, that's going to be a bit more work. And I thought, well, you know, let's just keep it simple. Let's just reduce the height of the walls. Now, once you have this all glued, it would be really hard to take a knife or a saw or something and cut this apart, because these joints would just fall apart if you tried doing that. But fortunately, I have a tool from Micromark that makes it unnecessary. And this is it. This is a notch cutter. And it'll cut through plastic, cardboard. It'll cut through just, you know, light tin. And it does a real nice job. Here, let's take a piece of scrap here, and we'll just line this thing up here. And take a chunk. And you see, it makes a nice cut. Yeah, you can just nibble what you need to get out of, you know, something out of there. I find this tool indispensable. I think they're like $15 or something like that for Micromark. But what I ended up doing is I just went around the base with it and just took a layer off the base, the whole base, and then I sanded it. And the way I sand stuff, you know, you could you know, take a piece of sandpaper, you know, and you could go like this with it, but you're going to end up, you know, look at the, you know, sandpaper's curving, you know, you're not going to get a real even bottom, which is what a necessity when you're working with these buildings, especially if you're going to put light inside. Because the last thing you want to do is put your lights inside your building and have the light bleed out the bottom. You know, it looks terrible. So in order to, you know, reduce the that from happening, you want to sand the bottom. And the way I do it is I take a piece of, I have a couple of these on my other workbench, but I'm just going to show you what I do. Take your sandpaper, and then I use the permanent double-sided tape from 3M. Put some tape down on your bench, and then you just lay, you know, put it in a place where you know, where it's not going to be in the way. I have enough bench top where I have it on a couple tables, and you know, you just tape it down. That way you got a nice flat surface to work on, and you don't have to hold on to your paper, and you can just, well, I have to pull, that's not, I don't have it on taped on this one, but you get the point here. You know, you can just run this back and forth and sand it down. Go either side with it, you know, you get it nice and even, nice and finished. And then when you're done, now you can take a vacuum cleaner to this, and you can suck the plastic out of the sandpaper. I've had a couple pieces of sandpaper on my other bench that I've had on there for about 1.5 years now, and I haven't changed them out yet, and I've used them a lot. You know, the sandpaper is a lot harder than the plastic you're using, so the sandpaper isn't going to wear out like it would if you're using it on something harder. And as long as you suck take a vacuum and suck the plastic out of it, it's good as new every time. It's a good way to do that. Another thing I messed up on this thing, and you know, I do make mistakes quite frequently. You know, I'm not the master builder. I'm just a regular guy that just kind of does this. But anyways, it might be kind of hard to see here, but this little piece right here is just a little bit far out. There's just a little bit of a lip there. I mismeasured. It happens. So what are you going to do? You know, it's there. You know, I mean, I don't want to bust this thing apart. You know, I could bust it apart, file off the glue off the pieces, you know, clean the glue off and start over again, but I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little piece of this brick paper, or this brick plastic here, which is the perfect width, and I'm just going to glue it on the back like so. And that'll make it a nice even surface, so I won't have my back wall look odd. So, and then we were talking about bricks. I was talking about the brick pattern sheets from JTT, or you could use the brick pattern sheets from Fowler, or you know, other companies. Now this has been coated with the red primer, basically Krylon red primer, and then I painted a few bricks with complementary brick colors. You know, here and there, just, you know, was what I did down here, and then go over it with the mortar mix. Now, I'm thinking, you know, natural brick on this building, and I'm thinking, gee, you know, most of the ones I've seen, as far as, you know, movie theater building, you know, drive-in theater buildings, they seem to be painted either white or you know, different colors, usually not natural brick. So what I think I'm going to do is use the brick and then just paint it. And I'm not sure. I'll probably end up maybe painting it. I don't know, maybe turquoise. I'm not sure. I'm going to paint it some kind of mid-century kind of color, I think, and then add some accents. I'm not really sure exactly what color I'm going to paint it at this point. but I think I'm going to go with the painted brick rather than the natural looking brick. I think it'll look a lot better. So that's where we're at so far on this. We're coming along on here. So just got a few things to do. Once we get the this all repaired here, and I'll sand this down a little bit, make this a little more even. I'm going to cut a door in the back so that we can put this door in. And I'm just going to cut a hole back here. Up here is where this little window was. Yeah, I could center it and use that window again. But I think I'm just going to cover it with brick. And then that's going to be the back door of it. Oops, there goes the back door of it. All right, we're sanding. I got the little shim piece on, glued that on, and had a little bit of side sticking out. These little ends were sticking out. That's not going to look real good with the when I put the brick over the top of it. You want a nice flat square surface. So this little doohickey here is basically a paint stir stick, and I took two different kinds of, this is a real fine sandpaper and this is a little coarser sandpaper, and I double stick taped them to it. It's the same principle I used on the bench, and I got a nice giant emery board that I can use to do work just like this. So we're just gonna make sure this is even through here. And looks like a little bit over here yet. I'm just going to sand that up. That's feeling pretty good on that side. That side's still got a little bit of a lip. You can feel it with your fingers as when you move your finger along the seam. You can, if you feel too much of a seam catch, you know you have to sand it down. Otherwise, that'll end up being a little bit of a bump in your outer skin. I mean, really, at this point, you really could just paint this. You don't have to put another layer of brick face or anything else over it. If you really wanted to, you could just, you know, fill in the crack with some filler, sand it down nice and flat, you know, and do it that way. But I like to use the, I don't know, maybe I'm just too lazy, I don't know. We're just gonna sand all these corners down a little bit here. Just make sure everything's nice and even. This side over here. I gotta be careful, so it looks like I'm gonna end up sanding that little lip off of the top of here, so I'm gonna have to go a little bit off to the side here. See if I can get that a little better here. I apologize about the weird camera angle. I'm not a video artist by any means, so nice thing about styrene is that it shapes real well. It's soft, sands well. Now, if you're going to paint it at this point, you know, I would recommend, you know, that you sand it, you fill it and sand it, you know. I mean, otherwise, you know, that stripe or that seam will appear in your paint. You know, it's not horrible if it does. Depends on, you know, what your level of finish you're looking to do out of this. But one thing is for sure, if you're going to paint this thing, and I recommend you do, you prime it. Use a good quality primer. I mean, at the very least, use something like this. you know, Krylon or Rust-Oleum, they're not the greatest, but they're cheap and they're readily available. I like using the Tamaya Primer, which I showed earlier in the video. I think it's a much better primer. It's made specifically for models, specifically for plastics, and it has a very fine grain to it, so that it sits lighter, you know, so it doesn't obscure details. Because with the heavier paints like the Krylon and that, if you're not careful, you can obscure details. On a thing like this, you know, there's really not that much, you know, for detail on it right now, so you really wouldn't have to worry so much about it. But if you're going to paint something that had more texture or door handles, things like that, you know, you're going to want to use a fine primer. It'll make the paint stick a lot better too. You'll get a lot better results. You'll be a much happier person, trust me on that. And here's a little something that will help make your day a lot easier. This is a model railroad scale rule, and it has different rulers on it for the different gauges. It has S scale. It also has HO scale, so you can compare the two if you wanted to. But I find this S scale ruler to be indispensable. Takes a lot of the math out of everything, trying to figure out, and it's a lot easier to get your measurements right. You know, you can. And one thing I do see, you know, when people do build buildings, you know, especially scratch build, I see a lot of this, that the doors are way out of proportion. You'll have some, you know, just unreasonable height in doors. You know, and for some people that's fine. You know, me, I'm a real stickler for being in scale as much as possible, as close as possible, and so it drives me nuts personally. But you know, if you're fine with having weird scale doors, then that's your thing. But I prefer buying making sure that my doors are properly scaled so that they look right when you have somebody in front of it. All right. So we did a little trimming. Like I said before, I decided that I'm just gonna paint the bricks, probably, you know, I'm not sure what color yet. We're gonna go with white first, though. We're gonna hit it with a good coat of primer, and maybe I'll use the white as the base coat because the white primer will look more like painted brick. And then maybe just paint some designs over the top of it or something like that. But so how I cut this, you know, I use, you know, metal rulers. This stuff's really thin, so it cuts really easy. You could even cut it with his scissors if you wanted to. Usually, like to cut styrene, you want to drag the back part of the blade, this corner here, across to make a score, and that'll kind of make a channel. And then once you get your channel, then you can turn around and use your blade to cut the rest of the way through, because sometimes you just put the blade on, it'll want to wander, and it can mess up your piece. But basically how I did this, I cut it, measured it and cut it, and I used my trusty nibbler here, and I just went right up here and nibbled out the piece, and it should fit real nice in there. See, that's pretty good. A little sticking out in the corner, but you know, I think that'll be covered by the front piece, so I'm not too worried about it. I got a little bit of a gap there. That'll fix itself. Here we go. We got it on this side here. We're going to put some across the face. You can see this kind of evens it out. You know, hides the gap, and it also adds some reinforcement to the wall itself too. Makes this joint a bit stronger. But you know, if you weren't going to put a coat on an extra layer on the top, you could just, you know, if you were concerned, just add a little layer on the inside along the seam of plastic so that it keeps it stable. So let's go ahead and glue the rest of this. There, we got the brick face on. Cut it and fit it real as carefully as I could, and I still ended up with a little bit of gaps. There's the one right there. I guess that wasn't quite as square. I kind of messed up the cut on that one. But I'm not really worried about it because I'm going to fix it. You guys must be thinking now, wow, this guy makes a lot of mistakes. And it's like, yes, I do. I do make mistakes. I make mistakes on basically almost everything I build, but I've learned how to fix my mistakes. This is something that's going to be easily repaired, and it's going to look nice when I'm done. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little piece of angle trim, and I'm going to put it right in there like so. It's going to cover up that gap, and it's going to make it look a lot more finished. So we're going to put those on. We'll see where we're at from there. All right, we got the siding, the brick siding on. I fixed the little problems with the corners with a little bit of angle plastic. Evergreen makes all kinds of little different shapes. This is one of them. Angle is real handy for covering up the edges and making it look nice and finished. And then in the back, we got the door cut in. Put a little drip rail up on top of there, partially to cover another mistake that I made when I put the door in, and I got a little bit too much of the material up there, and there was just a little tiny hole up there, and that covers it up perfectly, and it looks like it's supposed to be there. You know, so don't feel discouraged if you make mistakes, and don't, you know, go, oh no, I messed it up, I got to throw the whole thing out and start over again. You don't have to. You know, it all depends on how bad you mess it up, but generally, you know, you can cover a lot of things up, cover up a lot of sins. So this guy is ready to get painted now. We're going to paint this guy, let it dry, and then we'll get back to it and finish it up and continue on with our little odyssey here. All right, well, we got it painted. I did a little trim painting on the sides. Shaky hand up there, probably should have masked, but I'm happy enough with it. Well, you can see on the inside where I lifted it up, you can see the difference in the height between the regular HO scale and now that it's built to an S scale standard. It's got an S scale door on it. And I also, you know, I lowered it a little bit so that the cars and people can get up to it a lot easier. It'll look better. I did some painting on the top. I think I'm still going to paint the very top of this dark, but I did some striping on the sides to kind of make it look a little neon-y. We're going to actually put neon. It's not real neon, it's electroluminescent tubing, but it looks like neon. And we're going to put that on the screen, the front of the screen. And I wanted to do it on here too, but I don't think I'm going to have enough room really to do it. So we are going to add some lighting. We're going to put a light inside, and I'll probably put a couple lights on the outside of it yet to add lighting around it. I've ordered some plastic letters. They're the kind of plastic letters that you use for those announcement boards, those black announcement boards, the plastic letters that you press in. So I got an order of those coming in because I want to put theater across the front of it. I'm not sure if they're going to fit right or not. Or tickets. I think I'll probably put tickets across the front of it. And so we're going to use that for that. And let's see what else. I'm going to put a little wall on the inside of it so we can block that view to the back. I'm going to put a wall in here with a little doorway because inside of here is going to go all the electrical wires for the lighting. The base has a hole in it so that we can connect it up to my electrical grid and get it lit up. So we'll put several lights on this. And I think what I'm going to do eventually, I should get them ordered, is get some movie posters ordered. Dave's Decals, he makes some pretty nice cheap decals. And he has a line of movie theater movie posters. So, you know, I think that'd be a good idea. Put a couple movie posters up on the side of here, like you would see, and then I'll have a light shining down on them. I think that's how I'm going to end up finishing this. But that's where we're at right now. All right. Well, we got her mostly done. Add a little wall in there to break up the back and hide the wires that we're going to put in it. But we are going to light this thing up too, which I might have to do a little more modification to. See how light's bleeding. If any light's bleeding off the base or whatever, I'll just have to put a little bit of black caulk in there to block any light from getting through. But this is what she looks like. We'll do a slow turn on her the best I can with my hand here. And this was an HO structure, HO scale structure, and now it is an S scale structure. It's got an S scale door, it's S scale height. You know, and this little building, you know, it may seem a little small. I mean, I'm using the same building for my donut shop, but I figured that it could still be a, you know, a donut shop at that size. When you look at commercial buildings, the sizes aren't always the same. They're really, I mean, there's standard sizes as far as doorways and windows and stuff like that, and height mostly. But as far as the base, you know, it can be any size. We did a little flat black on the top, a little color on the side. I'm going to get some movie posters and make a few movie poster displays on either side. That'll add something to that white wall. And then on top, I've ordered some letters, and I'm going to put tickets above the top here. And then some lighting, and she'll be finished off. But I apologize for the length of the video, but in order to get all the information out to you, it had to be a little long. But if you're looking to expand your horizons and start working on looking at some of those HO structures, the best ones, like I've said before, are ones that are you're able to get in and add some to the walls. And remember, you know, doors are extremely important. I mean, if you add height to the walls and you still don't replace the doors, you're still going to have, you know, some weird looking doors, and that will show up when you're taking short, close range shots of them. So that's it. That's building an S scale building out of an HO. We'll be doing another video later on just building a regular styrene building from scratch. I assume that's probably going to be another long video. This one took, well, I've been working on this project for about a week on and off. I mean, if you wanted to do it from start to finish and you wanted to do it relatively quickly, I think you could do all the cutting and gluing of the parts within a couple hours if you have moderate skills. And then paint, let it dry, and then another couple hours of work afterwards to do the detail painting and touching up and adding whatever you want to add to it. But you know, these kits run around, I think, $24, something like that, in the train shop. So, you know, for 24 bucks plus the cost of the styrene, you're able to put together an actual S-scale structure on your layout. So that's it for now. Stay tuned. We're going to be coming up with a lot more stuff. I know my skills at filming are not the greatest, but I'm trying to get the information out, so bear with me on that. I will try to improve my video, my filming skills as time progresses. So please like and subscribe, tell your friends, comment, ask questions. I generally get to the comments, and I try to answer everyone that comes across. So have a good day now.